business. I have my degree from San Diego State in business. So I have that good foundation of running a business, which is a lot of work. There's a lot more than just baking that I have to do daily.
Right. Yeah. You have to admit it's much more fun.
Oh yes, way more fun, and I don't mind. At my daytime job, which was great, wonderful company, but 8 to 5, and I was done at 5 o'clock. Doing this, I could work all day long and into the evening, and I kind of have to watch myself and make sure I make time for my family and myself to do non-baking things. But I'm having a blast for sure.
That's great. Yes. Let me see if we have Jeanette. Is Jeanette here? Our other panelist. Trying to see. I don't know if we have her, or maybe J-Rel. Did J-Rel make it in here from Snoys? Not yet. All right, Melinda, it's you and I today.
I guess so.
Which is good. So I kind of played around with cupcakes and stuff a few years back too. So I had like my job as a school counselor, and then I was playing around with cupcakes with another educator friend of mine. But my real job got the best of me, and so the fun job kind of took a back seat, and then it eventually disappeared. So I'm not doing it anymore. But how did you decide on desserts and sweet treats? Why that and not something else?
Well, I kind of like so it's funny to hear. I love to bake, but I don't like to cook because for me, cooking is just too free form. I used to ask my mom, can you teach me how to cook adobo? And she's like, well, just put a little of this, a little of that, and taste it. I'm like, no, I need a recipe. And she didn't have one, like most moms who has a recipe for adobo. But baking, it's chemistry. With baking, you have to be very precise about your ingredients, your measurements. And I liked that. If you can tell from the job I described that I had with schedules and being on time and that kind of thing. So the chemistry of it all appealed to me. And then what I started to find out is a lot of people didn't really like dessert. My kids would go to school and they would say, oh, I'm going to bring cupcakes for my birthday. And our friends would say, oh, I don't like cupcakes. And my daughter would think, well, that's weird. Cupcakes are really good. And so she would bring them to school and the kids would go, whoa, we've never had cupcakes that tasted like this before, because they got them from, wherever their mom bought them from. No offense, because moms are busy, so I get it. But my big thing was I liked making them look pretty, but then tasting good just as well. And I love to hear that feedback of people saying, oh my gosh, that tasted so good. And they're so shocked, which feels sad to me. So I want to sort of spread that thing that just because it's pretty doesn't mean it's not going to taste good too. And I love the chemistry. It's funny, I do lots of numbers in my job, which would surprise people on ingredients and how much I put and that kind of thing. Isn't
it such a wonderful feeling when somebody takes a bite and they're like, wow, like they just perk up and their eyes light up and a smile is on their face and you're like, yes.
Yeah, that's exactly the feeling I have. I'm like, yes. Another one, because people say, oh, I don't like cupcakes. I really don't. I'm like, well, okay, just give it a try. And then they're just thinking, oh, yeah. And so now my family, I call them snobs, baked snobs, because they're really picking out about what they.
Yeah. So how did you get started? How did you transition? How did you get started? What challenges might you have encountered in the beginning of creating Melinda's Creations?
Well, how I got started was like I said, I made cakes for my family, and as most Filipino families, it's huge, so it was really far-reaching. And then here and there, people would ask me, "Hey, can you make that for me? I'll pay you." I think that's how a lot of small businesses start, right? When you make something, somebody will see something you did and they'll say, hey, I'll pay you to do that. And so I would start to make things for people. And so I had a few stops and starts before I ventured out this year. And a lot of it was time management with having a regular job, just like you experienced, right? You have your day job. And while it's fun, but when you start taking orders and having this expectation and all this work, it sort of wasn't fun anymore because I was just too busy, too stressed out. And so I would just kind of stop and let it go. But with, like I said, with COVID, I had that opportunity to work from home and I was able to manage my time better, multitask a lot. You know, I'd have my headset on and be in meetings and kind of on the side making cookie dough and that kind of thing. But as far as drumming up business, for now, it's all social media and all word of mouth. And it's amazing how, you know, you make a wedding cake for somebody, there's a ton of people at that wedding, and if it tastes good and they like what they're eating, word travels fast. So it's sort of that management of time. And now that I have basically all the time in the world, I'm starting to reach out to other areas of social media other than my own, right? There's Shop My Porch, which is a big forum on Facebook for makers of all kinds of products to sort of advertise their business and all kinds of things in the community. But a lot of it is just Facebook, Instagram, and word of mouth. I have a lot of repeat customers, which is really, really, really nice.
Yeah, Nicole this morning mentioned the power of social media.
Yeah.
And it can go really well either way. You know, you can get lots of really good, positive, awesome, you know, shares and what have you. And then, you know, this whole thing with cancel culture could turn around really fast too, right? So we're always trying to be careful and make sure everyone is happy.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you have to, I mean, constructive criticism is great, right? And you're never going to get better unless you get that, right? No one's perfect. And I'm always learning. I'm always trying out new things. But if you're in the right space and you're careful and you have a great support system, I mean, there's a lot of fellow social media, you know, folks, and they really lift each other up, you know. So it's and things like this. I mean, I'm so excited to have this opportunity to share and then just have more exposure, right, to our community. So it's great.
Definitely. J-Rel is here. Hi, J-Rel. So this is J-Rel from SNOIS. So we got started a little bit, J-Rel. So I don't know if you're ready, if you want to just give us a little bit, tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your business, and then we just talked about how you got started. Yeah.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name's J-Rel. I was born and raised here in San Diego, full Filipino. I am the owner of SNOIS. We have 2 locations, one in Spring Valley, the other in Kearney Mesa. And yeah, we started back in 2015. My wife's family is well established in the bakery, Filipino bakery industry. They own Lisa's Desserts, Kababayan Bakery, Filipino Desserts Plus, and they've also owned different franchises like Tapioca Express and Creamistry. But we're just kind of like the latest addition, trying to carry on the legacy of Filipino foods here in San Diego.
Tell us a little bit how you started SNOIS, how it came about, what inspired you.
Yeah, so SNOIS, so like I said, I was born and raised here, but right out of college, my wife and I moved to New York and joined the startup industry. So we worked for different startups. I worked for a few companies like Skillshare and some nonprofits, and then we were expecting a kid, so we moved back. And I think that's when it all started, was when you're in the mindset of being a new parent, you are in this mindset of what values do you want to pass off to your kids. And so and at the time, Diane's my wife Diane, her parents owned the bakery. They weren't ready to retire yet, so we wanted to complement that, and so we took on desserts, frozen desserts to be more specific. And yeah, we just wanted to try something new, but behind the desserts really is like creating an environment for our kids. We were lucky enough to open in our hometown between Paradise Hills and Spring Valley, which is where we grew up, and kind of mold this environment around where our kids would grow up, and really put in our values so that every time we went there, they would be surrounded by it. And so like our values are our family, and desserts were always the biggest excuse to bring family together. And then community, we're really big on the community. So it was nice to get everyone in there to contribute and collaborate. We love collaborating with, especially, our local Filipinos. And then just, yeah, sharing with desserts, because desserts, we grew up with boba. I think, like Filipino desserts, halo halo and boba, we grew up with, and we wanted to continue that tradition with our kids.
That's excellent. I think both of you hit on the importance and the support of your families, and how your families inspired you to do what you do, and to really find your why. Our keynote this morning was like, why are you doing what you're doing? What is it for? What is your purpose? What value do you find in it? And I'm hearing from both of you, it's your family inspired you. You're there for your family. It gives you flexibility to be with your family, which is awesome. So I know Melinda touched a little bit about it. So Gerald, I'll ask you, any challenges you experienced in the beginning in starting SNOIS?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm from the startup industry, so a lot more tech-based. And jumping into this industry was new for me. Luckily, we had the support of our families, Diane's family in the bakeries, but also my mom, who used to cater. And so for us, it was really, I think the challenges was learning about the food industry, which is very difficult, right? Like it's combining hospitality with retail, and I guess like, when you're producing food, it's like a mini manufacturing, like, I don't know, place. And so it's all of these different businesses combined, and it's really complicated, especially as you grow your menu. And so that has been the challenge. We've been in business for 6 years, and we're still trying to, I guess, still create and be fresh and innovate, but also keep our menu down, because I think people on the outside always try to suggest new things and new desserts, and really the logistics of everything is like difficult to handle. So that's probably the most challenging thing, and that's really just a part of it, of being in the industry. But we're always just trying to improve that part.
So for both of you, like with those challenges and learning technicalities, learning the business part of the food industry, was there someone you relied on? I know J-Rel, your wife's family, that's kind of their thing, so I'm sure they provided the support for that. But who else did you rely on, learn from, get inspiration from, get trained by, in order to learn the intricacies of what it is that you do now?
Well, for me, as I mentioned earlier, I was a business major, graduated with a business degree from San Diego State. So that really helped a lot. And I spent, gosh, not to give away, but you did with my high school graduation year. I spent a lot of years in the business world, like I said, as a product manager. So a lot of that I'm finding is just kind of ingrained in me on running a business. But I also am, my cousin has her own business, and I talk to her often about, just how to manage a one-person business, because I still be in the corporate world. And again, there's a lot of support. You know, there's a lot of bakers that I follow that manage business, so they share a lot of information. But JRail's correct. It's, you know, every project is a mini manufacturing. You know, from beginning to end, right? There's an idea, then you have to flesh it out, manufacture it, and then deliver it, basically, and then hopefully collect the money at the end. And it happens multiple times, right, a day. So some of it's just trial by error, I guess, on my end. But yeah, it's that support system, a lot of friends and family. And for me, I've connected with a lot of bakers, like I said, on social media, and they're so happy to share how to do things, how they manage their time. And that was very interesting what you said, JRL, about your menu, because I've learned that actually over the past year, because I would just get so excited. I do decorated sugar cookies, and my offering for Easter last year was so wide. And when it came to my orders, I almost lost it, right? There was just too many different bunnies that I offered people. So this year I learned, and my offering shrunk down, and it was, people were still happy, but it was a lot less stressful on me. So some of it is just sort of, you know, baptism by fire. You just got to try it and learn from there, learn from your mistakes or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that. It really is just like, you know, making mistakes and experimenting over and over again until you get it to a balance that works for you. For us, we're trying to get to the in and out menu where it's like really simple, still customizable. But like I said, it's really hard because for us, our staff, we open it up so that we hold like barista contests every season. And so a lot of the new menu items are created from them, and they get really excited about that. So it's hard. It's like a different balance, and we have catering too and whatnot. So, but the question for support, I agree. It's really, I'm on the same boat. I graduated with business degree, management information systems for me. So a mix of business and coding. And before that, I majored in finance and accounting. So like the numbers was a really important part of the business. It's hard to get into business if you don't understand the numbers, and like the systems and, you know, creating all that. So I did get a head start through like education, but still to this day, we always seek help and different conversations with our peers here in San Diego and in the restaurant industry. Because now I've learned, I mean, I spent maybe 6-7 years deciding what to do in college and ended up with a business degree, which is perfect because now I get to use all those different random skills. But I've learned, you know, like sometimes it's really just good to learn. There's a term called just-in-time learning, where you really just try to learn what from others as you're focusing on like a specific solution or problem. And yeah, we're lucky enough to really have a supportive group here in San Diego. A lot of them are speakers here at the conference. It's really impressive. But yeah, I mean, even from, it's random because I'm still connected to the startup industry, and there's really like influential people that help me at random times. And I think that helped. It's random, and it's not, I don't talk about it now, but like, you know, I was connected to different founders that I still have access to in New York. So like the CEOs of LinkedIn, like Jeff Weiner, or like, you know, different CEOs that are like, may seem like unapproachable, but like, I think what New York taught me was when you just put yourself out there and immerse yourself in what you love, and at the time it was startups, but what you love, you'll connect with similar people and they'll help you. So even if it's a niche thing, like connecting with bakers, like it'll be super applicable. And yeah, and you'll find support through that. And once you get over that hump where it's not competition, it's more like we're on the same boat. We're just like even though we're serving some Filipino food, something similar, or desserts, it's really like there's so much, and there's so many opportunities and different like markets and audiences that will appreciate your specific thing that you're providing. So.
Yeah, and I totally, as a school counselor, I tell students all the time, they doubt whether they want to pursue a non-traditional career or open a business that might not do well. And I say, you know what, if you love it, if you're passionate about it, it'll come out in what you produce. And so, like you said, JRL, you put yourself into it, you totally dedicate yourself to it, and it comes out in how your business runs, how your business is perceived, how you as a business owner is seen. And if you love it, it comes out, right? So tell us about your favorite item on your menu that you like to prepare. So we're going to get some salivation happening with our attendees and some inspiration to visit you on social media and order some things from you. So tell us a little bit about your favorite thing to make.
Do you want to start, Melinda?
I was gonna say you can start. I'm trying to decide.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. So I guess after I've been addicted to boba since I was young. I biked all the way to Lollipop in National City. It's now known as SD Boba Tea. I like, for me, my go-to now is it's really simple. It's a jasmine milk tea with cloud foam, and it's it's just a foam at the top. And Starbucks has a version of a cloud foam, but to me, it's like I having been in the business, I like being in and making the most simplest thing, but it's still refreshing and a good mix. But I would highly recommend it if you're tired of boba or want something of a change. Yeah, the jasmine tea with the cheese foam, well, we name it cloud foam now, is a really refreshing drink if you haven't had it already.
Awesome. Well, I'll have to come try that. But I would echo your same feeling there, as it's the most simple things that are the best. So there's a vanilla cake. It sounds pretty vanilla, I guess, pretty basic, but it's just so simple. And then just my favorite is a chocolate cream cheese frosting on top. Either that, or I make homemade lemon curd, and that tang on top of it with a little bit of buttercream is perfect for me. I'm not a big frosting person, and for me, my measure, I guess, of cakes is if you don't need to have frosting and it still tastes good, then you have a really good cake. And the frosting is just a schmear on top for a little bit. But that would be my favorite, my vanilla cake with either chocolate cream cheese frosting, so it's kind of tangy but a little sweet kind of at the same time, or some lemon curd on top.
Cheese foam. I like cheese foam and I love lemons, so you sold me. Okay, so we've got about 9 minutes left. Any advice either of you have for students who are thinking about opening a business, starting a business related to food? Advice for us who are thinking about pursuing something like you do?
Well, I would say, unfortunately, they're probably not going to be happy for me to say this, but all that math, you really will use it later in life. I wasn't on board either when I was younger, but the business aspect of it is huge. That's going to make or break you. You can have that saying of, if you build it, they will come. Well, they'll come, but if you can't manage them, they'll leave probably shortly after. So if it's your passion, go for it, but be educated on the business side of it. I've seen a lot of folks who are really good at what they do, but couldn't manage their business well. The sort of admin side, the numbers, the finances, the keeping track of orders, and all of that's really important. And so being in school and making sure you know your math and all of those things, accounting, finance that Gerald talked about, they are important. Or if you can be lucky enough to partner with somebody who can handle it for you, but most people don't have that luxury in the beginning. So I would say you kind of have to keep track of both, right? The passion of the product you're making. If it's baking, you have to be very particular about, cleanliness, right? So sanitation, that kind of thing, that's huge in that industry, especially these days with the pandemic and that kind of thing. So be educated on all of those things. And then I would say the business side is really important, because you could be making the greatest cake in the world, but if you can't manage that business side of it, it'll be tough. And in the very end, I would say just keep making it fun. If you're not having fun, and that doesn't mean you're not going to work 10, 15 hours a day, because you might. But if you're still having a great time doing it, then it's worth it. But when it's not fun anymore, then that's when that's kind of the thing that happened to me a few years ago when I had my day job, and this job, it wasn't fun anymore. So I had to put it aside because I didn't want to lose that passion I had for baking. And I just thought, you know what, I can't do it right now, maybe another time, and the time is now. So it all kind of paid off. But yeah, that math, you gotta figure it out, because you wouldn't believe how many calculations I have to do on a recipe. So that algebra really helps a lot.
Yeah, math will save you a lot of money for sure. I guess my advice is, yeah, I think it's when you're a business, you have to be really resourceful, and the more organized you are, the better too, right? But like, even if you're not organized, like, you can hustle and be resourceful. So even if you don't have these skills and know nothing about accounting and finance, if you can talk to the right people and find someone that can help you with that, like, it helps, right? Like, even though I know a lot about business, a lot of it is delegated to people that know way more than me, and can do, yeah, like, much more and help the business grow. We started off as a pop-up, so it started off simple, and it scaled pretty fast from there. But when you're starting a business, it really is just like trying to leverage what you like, first of all, what's true to you, because it's going to be hard doing what everyone else wants to do. I know early in my career, like, my mom wanted me to be a civil engineer, or like whatever makes money or whatnot, but like, really just stay true to you first. Don't be scared to walk and start small, and see what works for you. And then, like I said, once you pair it with other things that help your business, whether it's collabing with people, finding different business resources, and immersing yourself in people that are doing the same things, you'll just grow from there. But I wouldn't do that if you don't like it too, right? So yeah, just stick with what you like, what you're good at, focus on your strengths, and then find stuff to complement that. And then, as best as possible, stay organized from there.
Did you hear that, students? Math is important. Take your senior year math, says Melinda and JREL. It's going to help your business. It's important. Message from your school counselor. So if anyone watching, we've got maybe time for one question from our attendees. If anyone's got a question, you can drop it in the chat or turn off your mic if you're brave enough to ask your question. In the meanwhile, while people are thinking of the question, there was a question about the attendance form. So students, if you're trying to access the attendance form, make sure you're signed in under your district Google account, because I don't believe you'll be able to access it if you're not logged into your account. So make sure you're logged in. Okay, questions. Any questions, anyone? No questions, no questions. All right, Melinda and J-Rob, one last plug for your business.
J-Rel,
Yep.
go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are in Chula Vista. The closest location is Spring Valley, so check us out if you want. We specialize in holo holo, so if you're Filipino, definitely check that out because I think it's a staple of Filipino culture. And if you guys are online, if you could do me a favor, we're in the running for best desserts in San Diego on San Diego Union Tribune. If you want to follow us at SUHSD, I think it's on the flyer there. It's SUHSD. There will be a link to just quickly vote for us. It takes less than a minute, but that'd be greatly appreciated, guys. And if you want to reach out to me, my email's there. If you need any advice, let me know. Always welcome to help.
Awesome. Well, I guess I'm not very good. That's probably the worst thing. I'm not very good at plugging myself, but I make pretty much any dessert. I do a lot of decorated cookies, cakes, cupcakes for, birthdays, anniversaries. I would love if you guys check me out on Instagram and Facebook. I think on the screen there, you can see my handles there. And if there's anything, graduation, weddings eventually, not right away. But yeah, I would love for you guys to just check me out, follow me on social media. And just like J-Rel, if you have any questions that you think about afterwards about baking, just in general, if you're trying to bake something and you had a question, you can message me via those social medias and I'm happy to help. Or if you want to start something up and are looking for some advice or anything, I'd be happy to help.
Awesome. There are lots of thank yous in the chat for both of you. So Melinda and J-Rel, thanks so much for joining us. We're so happy to have folks like you participate in events like this today. So students, if you have not yet done your attendance, please make sure you do so. Our next session in this thread is the ordering desserts online. So if you hang out here, we'll start that in a few minutes. But again, thank you to J-Rel and Melinda. We appreciate you being here and we'll see everyone in a little bit.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.